if you haven't met me, I'm Lauren. I'm with Arena, and we're a law firm. We also have the title side, so that's why I'm in front of you all, right? We do some business with y'all, getting some closings done, which is always fun for us. Any questions about Arena in general? Is everybody pretty much up to date? Yeah.
So I'll do an escrow now too?
We do. We have Arena Escrow. Primarily, we were doing a lot of, y'all know we do a lot of commercial and a lot of creative real estate. So we do a lot of 1031 exchanges, doing them on the law firm side. If you ever have a client that wants to do that, the IRS guidelines, you got to make sure that no agent ever is in receipt of the funds, right? Because that's what the delay in that tax owed is granted, because they actually never take possession of the funds. Well, because we represent so many parties on our law firm side, if we were their lawyer at one point, we can't receive the funds through our law firm. So we established that third-party escrow company to do that, and then we're like, well, you know me and Jared, we can't stop. So we live that level of crazy. So we're like, oh, well, we might as well do all the other lovely things that escrow companies do. So eventually, we're finalizing the bond to service seller finance transactions in-house as well. And then the bigger thing that we're building out, which I'm super excited about because I come from a background construction family, but we're going to act as the escrow and payment provider for any cash builds for contractors that do cash renovations or cash builds. Because if you notice, if you've done a construction loan with some of your clients before, the banks facilitate the payment schedule based on inspections, right? Well, when you have a situation where it's cash, you don't have that. So it's a heck of a lot of trust between the contractor and the buyer, because the contractor's like, I don't want to go spend money on materials if I don't know that you can't pay for the whole project, right? And people oftentimes go out of budget when they're building. And then likewise on the other side, contractors aren't, similar to lawyers, always the most loved, so people also don't want to give them that chunk of money. So we're going to hold the funds, you know, to the requisite amount that both parties agree to, and then have inspectors go out and facilitate those payments. So yes, that is what the three things the escrow company will be doing. Yeah, with the escrow company or with a problem because they didn't have it. Yeah. Yep. Yep, and it's hard because it's like, exactly, you got to have that. Correct. It is. It's a lot, and so we're hoping to get ahead of that, you know, and can give that legal advice and then also, you know, serve as the escrow provider for it. So we just had so many real estate projects reaching out to us that it was like, this is a direct need. So we're excited to do that. Yeah, so that was one of our new ones. We now have 7 under the umbrella. So we have the law firm, the title company, y'all know Lettuce Media, Mal and Jonah, and then Boss Move Pros, which is the concierge to facilitate home services. So y'all probably started seeing that through your closings. The escrow company, and then my interest that I opened with my friends in Posh Patch, I have granted my interest over to Arena so that we could put it under the full umbrella. Those are the hydrogel patches. We have like a hangover patch. We have a B vitamin complex patch. We have a no THC CBD patch that's called Peace, but it's just vitamins that go through hydrogel in your skin. Okay, cool. So, yeah. My friend, that was me. Yeah, that was me. We had, it was a group back when my daughter tried to do competitive cheer. Now she is just swim and volleyball, and if I asked her to do cheer, she would laugh at me. But they were younger, and it was a group of moms, and we were talking about like anxiety patches for kids. And then we all are shared friends with one of the owners of the Woodhouse Spas. Our friend Aaron is one of their owners, and they have hangover patches, and we would always go there, but they're like Band-Aid style, and so I was getting rashes like on them, so we like put it all together. And so the first one we did was the hangover patch, and then we wound up doing a few others. So yeah, that's everything under the umbrella of Arena, right? So that is me. Do y'all all know each other? I know Ronnie was new to me.
I'm Ronnie.
Ronnie, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Megan.
Right? All right, cool. So I like to start off making sure that there's some clear expectations amongst everybody. So what I'm trying to help y'all do is to build a business plan, right? So my history comes from well over a decade. I'm in my 14th year of practice of doing primarily business law, and only 4 years of that have I introduced real estate. And so I was able to come in like with a business mind and look at the real estate industry from a high level. And so as I started developing all these relationships, I realized how successful so many of you are, but you still don't operate as as a business. And to me, that's just an entire missed mark on a value add to your clients, which is what most real estate agents get in this to do, right? You want to work with people, and you do really great working with people. So if you can structure that and provide you with better peace of mind, because how many times do we see those like memes on social media about how hard it is to be a small business owner, or how as a real estate agent you work all the time and you have no hours? None of that's going to change. So what's the level of acceptance, right, and those boundaries and those processes that you are putting in place so that you even live a better quality of life as a real estate agent, right? So I say all of that not because I want to point the finger or push you down, but it just was a problem that I saw that I would love to be able to facilitate and help y'all so that y'all are happier, right? And then at the end of the day, when you're happier, you're doing better business. So that is my objective today. So what we're gonna start with is our business checklist. So if you open up, that's gonna be the first handout that you see. And I did it a little bit differently this time because like Megan, for example, she's heard me speak before, right? And so this particular presentation is my general big overview. Like, right, this is your large snapshot. If you were to ask me to come in and do a presentation on each one of these, I could break it down and do an entire hour-long presentation on each one of these things, right? And so as a whole though, if you put them together, that's when you have a really consistent, congruent operating business. And that's what I'm hoping for you all. So what I did with the checklist in front of you is that, have any of you heard me speak on business before or attended our continued education last year? Because this is very similar to what I did at our continued education event last year, not the one this year, but the one prior. So you might have gone through some of these exercises. Also, I am not some crazy genius, right? Business is business. When I was in LSU Business School 20 years ago, same stuff, not these new concepts. So it is likely that you've gone through some of this before, or you've heard what I'm going to talk to you about today. Nonetheless, it's still good to hear it again. Why? Because we're human and we fall off. So what I did on this business checklist is, you'll see I put some things underneath it so that as we're working through these exercises, I'm only going to spend as much time as you all need me to spend on it, right? But I also want you to challenge yourself. One of the things that my husband and I talk about all the time is that just as humans, we don't see ourselves accurately, right? If you truly audit your behavior, are you acting the way that you truly want to be perceived? Are you acting the way that you think you are when you find that peace of mind and comfort, right? Most of the time, there's habits, and not all of them are good, right? And so we need to see ourselves accurately to see. So you might say, I have my values defined, Lauren. I don't need to sit through this class. Fine, name them. So if you're one of those people and your values are set, write them down right now. I also want to know, when's the last time you communicated that on social media? When did you get in front of a camera? Because what is the thing right now? Real estate's a little bit harder than it has been, right? And so we need to differentiate ourselves. We need to find what those value adds are. Do I have anybody that's primarily a buyer's agent in here, right? Those parties in general have been somewhat nervous. What is this going to look like? What changes are happening in our industry? And how do I make sure that I'm adding that value, right? These are the things that you can do to define who you are as a person. So again, I'm going to challenge you as we go through this exercise. If you've already gone through it, don't waste the time. While we're doing it, refer back to this checklist on any of these points and audit and answer the questions that I have written beneath each one so you can make sure that you're accurately doing it. Because if your values are defined, then you should know those values well. All right, so does everybody understand how we're going to use the business checklist? Right? I also want you to hold on to this, because when I leave here today, it's going to be on you to continue this process, and I want you to succeed. I don't want to come back in 6 months and it be brand new. I want to come back in 6 months and it's going to be a refresher, and we're going to improve and get even better, right? Or 3. I'm not saying I have to come back at 6. It just took us 6 months to get me. All right, so first thing on the checklist was values. So the first one is going to be our values exercise. The quote I like to use for this is, preach the gospel daily, when necessary, use words. Not because I'm trying to take you to church. It's because I'm trying to tell you that your values should be so ingrained in you that you shouldn't have to tell somebody what they are. Megan should interact with Lauren and be like, I can see why those are her values, right? Because I'm living them. Because I'm going home with a sense of awareness and auditing my behavior and making sure that I'm putting those values at the forefront, right? And so it's important to me that it's that much of a depth and not something, and I don't mean this in a bad way because I love what y'all have on the wall, but a lot of companies will take values and just put them on a wall. or just put them on a t-shirt, and then they forget about them at some point. So when we go through this exercise, I really want you to think about what defines you and what these words particularly mean to you. Because also, words have different meanings, right? What leadership is to one person is something totally different to another, right? We see that on TikTok every day because TikTok tries to tell us everything every day right now, right? Everybody has a different definition of these words. So once we select these words, keep in mind that we're going to be defining them to the core of what it means to you so that you can communicate that and live that in your life. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. I give you all this as an example. If you go to arenacollective.com, you will see an About tab. If you go to the About tab, you will see our 5 values, and they're listed up there. Leadership is one of the ones, we each took one and wrote it. And so you'll notice mine is like very regimented bullet point. I had like 16 bullet points that I wanted to get across. I love leadership. I've studied it forever. There's like so many books. So there's so many things that I wanted to say about it. You read John's and it's like the most poetic, beautiful thing ever because man is just an art with his words. So it's funny to read through our values if you ever get a chance because you really see our personalities in them. But again, I use this as an example not because I write a perfect value statement because there is not one. Because your values are what they are to you. They are truly supposed to be more of your use so that you can make decisions when you're bringing somebody onto your team, when you're having trouble with a client and you're not sure you want to continue to work with them. When you combine your purpose and your values, those two things together are going to help you make decisions for your business. People always have trouble and they have indecision fatigue trying to figure out what their next steps are. This is why you define this core. This is the foundation of your business, right? Second reason I show you is because look how crazy that looks, right? No one expects to see some big long paragraph. And so I'm telling you, that's okay. And it's also okay if your value means 3 simple words to you, right? So again, just make sure you make it your own. So go to the second page that was in your handouts, your list of values. And again, like I mentioned, if you've already done this exercise, then go back to your checklist and audit your behavior, see if you remember what those values are, and write them down. If you haven't, I want you to start off with putting a star next to the top 10 words you see there. You will also notice that there's a little write your own section on the side, because if you know how some people just have like a fancy word, like that was my dad's word and I took it with me? Or you choose your word that you wrote on a rock for a year. Whatever you want to do with that, y'all can go ahead and put that in your own as well. You're not limited. I'm just trying to give you some examples. So star 10 of them bad boys for me.
What is, like, I see that yours was 5, you know, for.
Yeah.
What is like a good number? Like, I'm assuming we're picking 10 because it's not going to be all 10.
It is
You're
not.
gonna
You're
narrow it
right.
down, like,
3 to 5. We are going to narrow it down. Megan is absolutely correct. So 3 to 5 is general, right? I had one company that I worked with years ago, and they chose 1, and I challenged them on it. And then eventually they added some more, right? But in that moment, they needed 1. And then I had another company that I worked with before that they chose 8, and it was chaos and confusion amongst, right? You want to find what the core is. It doesn't have to be all inclusive. And what I typically say, Megan, when you're having trouble narrowing them, is that most of them can marry together in some way, which you'll see throughout this exercise. So if you could take some of the 8 and push them in. So start with starring your 10. We are on that exercise. So we are starting with our core values, right? And so those are the things deep-rooted in our gut who define who we are. And we're going to start by just picking 10 of them. So if you put a star next to 10 words that resonate with you. All right, if you're done with your 10, out of that 10, I want you to underline 5. So of the 10, pick 5. And as you go through, you'll start to notice, oh, well, these 2 are kind of alike. If that's the case, that's fine. We'll use that in a second.
This for the business or me as a person?
I get that question a lot in real estate. Do you think that there's a big difference between you and your business as a real estate agent?
Yes and no. I think to a certain extent, some of my core qualities will relate to this, but some things that probably like self-discipline. I
Mhm.
mean, you know, for me personally, that'd be a really big thing for me. But if I'm saying my business, it probably wouldn't be as big as the thing, self-discipline.
I would promise you that no business is successful without self-discipline.
Yeah.
So if that's something that you think is important to you as a person, then that's going to be important for you to be successful in your business. So I would include it. All right, and then out of those 5, circle your top 3. And I promise I won't do it again. I need to like come here without a presentation and just do the dry erase board. Seems fun. I was like, it's like a playground. Yes, we're gonna do math today. I'm like, Lauren, what do you have to do with math? I did love math. It was my favorite subject. All right, we got our top 3. Now, at the bottom of the page if you write small, on the back of the page if you need a lot of space, write your top 3. And then I want 3 to 5 bullet points of what that word means to you. So this is where it becomes easy that if you started saying, oh, well, these 2 are so similar, but I'm going to go with this one, then grab that other one and throw it as one of the bullet points, right? To try to define it beneath. So 3 to 5 bullet points on each of those top 3. And keep in mind, I'll use Jared's example for integrity. If you ask Jared at any point, y'all can test him and make sure that I'm right next time y'all see him. What does integrity mean to you? He's always going to say it means doing the right thing when no one's watching. Like that is his go-to. So notice that is not even a full sentence, but that could be one of your bullet points. So literally just what it means to you. It doesn't have to be anything eloquent right now. I simply want bullet points. If you ask me like leadership, one of my bullet points would be selflessness or sacrifice, right? Just simple terms are fine at some point. And again, if you already have these defined, then I'm challenging you to define them for me so that we know you're using them and living them in your practice. All right, who wants to role play with me? Who wants to let me know their top 3?
I can do it, brother. I'm almost done.
All right, I'll give you a couple more seconds. Mallory, remind me. I got to show you the meme that Jennifer sent me because it made me think of it, of me pushing people. They're still writing. It was like a ninja that came through, and it was like how my boss wants me to accomplish something. They were like kicking boards all at the top, and then they had this like goofy guy, and it was like how I actually solve problems. And it was like this old man, like, yes. I was like, yes, Jennifer, that is you. That is 1,000% you. All right, Ronnie, what you got?
My 3 is excellent, spiritual, and generous.
Love 'em.
All those kind of go together, but number 1 was for excellence is diligent, honest, and the best foot forward. So doing everything the best and constantly.
Constant
growing and
improvement.
improving. Spiritual.
Write down constant improvement if you haven't, because you embellish. You want that to be part, because I'm going to give you homework. All right.
My spiritual is honest before God, noble, and God honoring.
Love it.
So kind of similar to that one. Generous, giving more than taking, giving money, and also giving time to people.
Love it. Beautiful. All right. Homework. And anybody else can share after as well. I want you to formulate these into an actual definition of the word. right? So just some formed sentences. And again, as I showed y'all in my example, there's no rules, right? It could be as long as you want, as short as you want, but it's what it means to you. Because at the end of the day, it's not just the Webster Dictionary word when you look it up, right? So I want you to define it for you, and y'all are gonna have that emailed to me within 1 week. Or your accountability partner. It doesn't have to be me. I just wanna make sure that y'all actually finish the exercise, right?
Okay.
Whoever your accountability part. So 1 week, define values. All right, which one of y'all wanna share what you got?
Share mine.
All right, what you got, Megan?
Gratitude, reliability, and fairness. So gratitude is being thankful and showing people how much I value them and what they bring to the table. And then reliability, doing what I say I'm gonna do. Fairness, making it a win-win for all parties involved.
Love it, yeah. There's a lot of equity into it. I love that gratitude is a self-action, but you still turned it into someone else, into their feelings and giving them value. That's good. And that's a perfect example of why you need to define it for yourself. And like, so to me, that is a beautiful piece of content. Like y'all can leave here today and you now have 3 pieces of content that you can go and put out on social media that is a value add that distinguishes you from every other agent. Because you are out there letting them know this is who I am as a person, and if that resonates with you, then we're gonna do good business together, right? So first piece of homework is defining those values. Second piece of homework, I wanna see y'all on social. Give me some content out there. All right, the next thing we're gonna do, and it's a lot to go through, y'all, so that's why I'm moving a little bit quick, but y'all will have time, and y'all know my cell phone number's on my card, so once you store it, y'all can contact me at any point as you're working through it. But we're gonna define our purpose. Remember when I said earlier, if you take your values and your purpose together, this becomes the foundation for your decision-making for your business, right? When you have those tough decisions that you can't make on business principles, you make them on the purpose of values and purpose, right? So we're gonna be defining what is your why. And I think the easiest way to talk about it is, what do you get excited to get out of bed to do in the morning? Like you're running. What actually gets you up that early in the morning when the rest of us are sleeping because we're lazy, right? Also, what makes you good for the job? What makes the job difficult for you, right? What we're gonna do is create a statement that allows you to stay intentional, right? Y'all always know my other crazy counterpart, and our crazy together is insane. So we see squirrels all the time, and we want to start all 17 of those new squirrels that we see every day. And so we go back to our purpose every single week, and we're like, that's outside of the foundation of our purpose, right? And when people come to us and say, I really want you to have an office here, we really, and I'll give you this many files, and Jared starts running, and I'm like, St. Tammany Parish is our purpose. How many people in St. Tammany Parish are we going to enhance their lives? Do they do business there? Now, if they do business there, we're there. So oddly enough, look at that. We have an office in Tangi. We have an office in Baton Rouge, because that's where y'all extend, right? So when you define what your purpose and your impact is going to be, it makes it much easier to make those decisions and stay intentional, because that intentionality is what leads to success, right? When you're intentional, all your energy is funneled, as opposed to it being scattered. There's a beauty behind it and a science behind it. It works. So go to that next handout for me. Oh, I'm sorry, our example, right? So again, and y'all can go at our website when you're doing your homework to figure it out, you could see actually how broad our purpose is. And that was very intentional. Why? Because we always intended, when I went through the 7 different companies we now own under the collective, right? It's no longer just a law firm and a title company. But we knew that when we sat in that room like crazy people that night to define what this purpose was going to be. So I want you to think of that when you're building out what you're building. Are you joining real estate because of how you're going to impact the real estate community? Are you joining real estate because you love people buying a home? Neither answer is right or wrong, but I want your purpose to reflect it. Does that make sense? Okay, so go to that next sheet. We're going to start by answering these 4 questions. And your third piece of homework is going to be combining those 3 questions into a defined purpose, right? Of all of these 4 questions, as you're answering them, the most telling to me is, what is your definition of success? When you're looking at these questions and you don't know which one to start with, which I'm a rational person, so I start with the first one. But for you other people, unsure where to begin, if you're looking at them, just take a moment, don't mean to be cliche, but remove every other thought, close your eyes, and envision what success looks like for you in this role. Anthony, I know you probably, what I told them, because I knew Megan had gone through this before. So what I did is the first handout is a checklist. And if you have anybody else that wants the presentation, you can email it to them and give them one. But for those who have already gone through this, y'all aren't starting from scratch. So I created this to kind of audit your own behavior.
Okay.
Like if you've already gone through the exercises, then they should be able to look at this and write them. And if they can't just write them down, then they're not truly living them and they need to revisit the exercise, right? And so they can use this as like a checklist to see where they are and then kind of build from there.
Perfect.
This is one of those sheets too, y'all, that if you want to just jot down your knee-jerk reaction to these questions, because you could probably spend an hour on this. And I would want you to. And I would want you to take your accountability partner, and if you don't have a direct accountability partner, you know, a person that's close to you that knows who you are as a person and what makes you tick, right? To bounce these ideas off of. Because I think that often, I know that oftentimes we have so much coming at us that we build an expectation in our minds of what success is, but it's not truly what we believe to the core. And that's really important that y'all go a little bit deeper and define that. I know we're going to talk about the DISC in a little bit, but one of the beautiful things about the Abelson DISC is the motivators in the back. A lot of people think that success is monetary, but if you take that assessment and you look at your motivators and you're not utilitarian, and that's 4th, 5th, 6th on the list, then success by just some monetary amount that you make per year, that's comfort. That's security. That's not what success is to you. That's not your true motivator. Please keep that in mind. Once y'all have a few notes on each one, just let me know so we can chat through. And if you're having trouble with one, please let me know. I'd love to go back and forth with you.
So for me, the first question, what is your main focus in building a business, and then what impact do you want to have on your community, family, your friends, your colleagues? For me, that's almost like the same answer.
Mm-hmm.
How do you differentiate those two questions?
You don't have to, right? If your primary focus is your impact, then your purpose is to have the greatest possible impact. Now, I would challenge you, though, when you talk about greatest possible impact, break that down to volume of people or depth of relationship, right? Because those are two different things. When I talk about, like, I want to have the greatest impact, and if it's volume of people, then you're focusing on who you're attracting. If it's depth of a relationship, you're assessing your client list and seeing how you're building something specifically for them and meeting those needs. So, and again, there could be elements of both. It's not mutually exclusive, but there needs to be some focus there. But yeah, if you go back to Arena's definition, that is our purpose, is the impact that we can build in this ecosystem of our community. Impact is fine. Does anybody have a good definition of success?
I know my definition. I can tell you what my honest definition of success is.
That's what we want to know.
Success to me is bringing people closer to God and also doing God's will upon earth.
I love it. That needs to be part of your purpose.
That is.
Okay, so make sure you build it in. So homework number 4, and this one also is going to be within 1 week. You need to have a written purpose. So you're combining these questions into a written purpose, right? And again, feel free. You can email it to me and I can poke holes in it, ask you questions on it, challenge you on it if need be.
What was 3?
So 1 was your values, defining your values. Then you were going on social media. Then you were, I had another one. No, it is 3, your purpose. You're right. I just wanted you to guess. Thank you for paying attention. I really am good with math, I promise. All right, next thing we're going to do, and this one is so big to me in how people use it. I think people have an idea and a concept, so then they run away with it, but they never truly use it and live in it, and that is defining who your target client is and your target audience. And as real estate agents as a whole, I'm gonna group y'all together, so go ahead and get mad at me. Y'all don't like this exercise. You're like, I will sell a house to anybody. Stop asking me to do this. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm not telling you not to sell a house for anybody or help somebody buy a house. I'm asking you to define who are you speaking to. When you are creating those values that I told you to put out on social media, you know, when Mallory has to sit here and listen to me ramble, right, and have this content, who are we putting this out there for? Because that determines, God bless you, that determines how I'm speaking, what I want to talk about, maybe sometimes what you're wearing, right? Because what you're putting out there is what's going to attract what's coming in. One of the things when Arena started, I was very intentional with my legal background that I could not start a company that was just a title company. And I don't say that in a negative way. I know so many just title companies that are amazing, run by amazing people. They're wonderful and they're a value add to our community. But that wasn't my focus. I'm like, I am a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for a long time. And where I was pulling me out of the legal realm, and I needed to be back in it in, you know, my entrepreneurial spirit and way. And so I'm very intentional that we are a law firm that has a title company. Right? And so sometimes that looks a little different. Sometimes our messaging is different. Sometimes our branding is different. If you notice, we made the decision, it has both written under Arena Collective because I wanted it to be in your face every single time, especially over here on this side of the parish where Jared's so well known for real estate law, right? And not the other side of everything that we do in the business side. So again, being intentional about who you are targeting is going to make a difference when you make those decisions. And yet again, cutting back on that indecision fatigue, right? When you're like, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I advertise in this magazine? Who's reading the magazine? That should be your immediate question when someone comes to you. Who is reading the magazine? And then you go directly back to this sheet. So we call, that's right. When we go back to, we call ours Teddy, right? Because if y'all notice Man in the Arena, that is a Theodore Roosevelt quote, is what Arena Collective is based upon. And so when we defined who our client was, we just named him Teddy. Right? And I get kickback. I get a lot of kickback from my business clients. I represent a lot of female business owners. And they were like, why is your ideal client, you know, a man? Like they were a little bit offended that we chose that. But at the end of the day, when we worked through this exercise, that ideal client is a man. Do you think I take any less female business clients? Heck no. No, they come in all the time. We still relate to one another really well. I relate to male business owners as well. Right? So keep in mind when we're defining this, you're not excluding anyone that you're going to be doing business with. You're just defining who you're speaking to and how you're going to make those marketing decisions. Then you're going to get a better return on your investment. And also, like the example with Arena, when we put it out there the way that we do, we get a heck of a lot more creative real estate and commercial real estate transactions that we're capable of doing as a law firm. Right? And those are the transactions that we want to do. Or I have a lot of agents that'll come and say, do y'all do a lot of transactions in X neighborhood? Because X neighborhood has really high value property homes. I need you to get me in with those people. And it's like, you need to get you in with those people. I can facilitate every introduction that you want me to, but if you're not going to relate to them, if your branding, if your presence in the community doesn't relate to them, then it's not going to land. And that starts with defining what that is. And I have people that their ideal client is exactly not that. And that's like so beautiful too, right? Like I am the first time home buyers. I want the people that have, their purpose was so correlated to their ideal client that I want someone who never thought home ownership was possible. And that agent is hugely successful on a volume of smaller value homes. But they defined it and they're intentional, and that's why they see success. So know that it can come from both sides, right? So again, why do we want to do that? We want to figure out who we're going to impact. We want to have the greatest impact possible, especially Megan, that Sherry defined that that's the main part of her purpose, right? We're going to save money because we're not going to be investing in crap that isn't giving us a return on an investment, right? I love also knowing who my teddies are and designating those teddies, which by the way, yes, some of them are females. But again, it's how we speak. But I will go to them for feedback because that's the targeted feedback that I want, right? You want to know directly what their opinion is, how you can be better, how you can add value. All right, so this is the worksheet. I'm sure y'all saw it already. I find that most people have the most trouble starting here. Naming, picking a gender, deciding if they're married, etc. So I would say that you need to go to problems and challenges. Maybe think of what was the most rewarding client that you had recently that like you finished that transaction and you were like, heck yeah, I really helped somebody, right? Is that not the best feeling? What problems did you solve in that transaction? That would be those challenges and those problems that you're going to identify in your target client. On the flip side, think of those ones that, you went home and you were like, I'm not sure I want to do real estate forever, because that was a challenge. It happens, right? Sometimes you get those clients and you want to be the best version of you. You still want to help them, but maybe y'all didn't match on values and you didn't understand that in the beginning, so it was a hard transaction. Think about that as you're writing that. Your goals and values, when you get to that section. I can't have a lot of clients that are complacent. I would drive them nuts. Likewise, nobody can work at our firm if they're just like, I'm so settled in my career, I've done so much, I just want a nice soft place to land. I've had people say that in interviews. I'm like, oh, sweetie, I'm sorry, this ain't gonna work. I will gladly help you find a place, but we're coming in every day, guns a-blazing, to your value of excellence. How can we be better today? And so you would run in the opposite direction of Jared and I if that was the case. Literally run. General interest. This one's sometimes easy. Like maybe we have somebody that has, school-age kids that keep you busy all frickin' weekend. But you find that you have a common interest with those parents and those families. So maybe their interests are their kids and kids' sporting events, or that Pilates class that you wanted to go to, or running in a marathon, or at 3:30 in the morning. But the biggest takeaways is that your avatar is not your best friend. You don't have to love them. Your values should be consistent with them, because then that means y'all are going to have some meeting of the minds and have a good transaction and can build a deeper relationship. It does not equal discrimination, because just because a client comes to you and not your ideal client, you're not turning them away. We only turn away when there's a value infringement. Now, after you've filled that out, start to think about what this person looks like. And you don't have to feel bad about what they look like. Because again, you're still going to service anyone. But honestly, think about it. Who do you envision in your head when you're talking about this person? Male or female? Are they married? Do they have kids? Do you like working with single people so you don't have to get in the middle of their disputes? But when it's, you're talking to somebody that's married with kids, maybe their challenge is they need a bigger home, right? So that's one of the things you're looking for your ideal clients is expanding families. And you're going to solve that problem for them. Based on the type of house, what house do you get excited when they want to go see it? They have to have a corresponding salary, right, to get approval for that type of home. So define what that salary is. Or likewise, like I said, my other gentleman that I've worked with, where he works with first-time home buyers, he was like, some of them don't have a salary. They're hourly. I'm like, all right, we can work that, right? Who are you particularly talking to? And then after all that's done, the actual fourth one, not the third or the skipped, but the fourth homework assignment is I want this completed and I want your avatar named. I want a name so that at any point when you're making these decisions and you're talking to your accountability partner, you're talking about this person. Like Posh, her name is Penelope. And so like whenever we're talking about, we're like, is Penelope going to be there? No, she's not going to be at that. We're not going to do that, right? For Arena, it's Teddy. We know. Is Teddy going to be at this event that we're sponsoring? And sometimes we sponsor things just because we love the person that's doing it, right? And we want to support them. But that's a decision that we make with emotion, not a business decision. So we're not looking for the return, right? The 97, Little League teams that we randomly sponsor. Y'all, there's so many with 4 owners, and everybody that we know, you gotta show some love. We got a lot of Little League. We were thinking of something with a P, because with Posh, and so we kept going back and forth. I can't remember which one of us suggested it, but we all loved it.
I was trying to figure out how to figure out my name, right? My avatar's name. And so the Teddy, the one that you described, that's so like,
Yeah, it makes sense.
well, it's a little bit deeper, right? And
Yeah.
then the other one, like, well,
No, it was random.
works. So I was like, so I just need to
Right.
somewhere in between there.
I had such a cool story. So we're working on another business that we're potentially combining. And I was going through the exercise with them. And Jared's cousin Cameron, who, if y'all been at the Covington office, has been at the front. He just got into law school, so he's been interning all summer at the front desk. But he asked to sit in on things and on our processes. And he happened to walk in on this part. And we were describing who this ideal client was. And he was like, and it sounds so much like a X. And we haven't launched it yet, so I'll just say X. And you watch the guy that we're working with, like he lost all the blood in his face and went white and showed his arm, and he had a wristband for one of his buddies that he lost in the military, that he's like, that is exactly who I was thinking about. And so it was just one of those beautiful moments that every time we talk about this ideal client, it's immediately who he thinks of, that he has such a deep connection with, and everybody got that without even knowing it. It was like so serendipitous. It was beautiful. So again, something may come to you within the next week that you're like, I love this transaction and that's it. That's a fun name. Like, and I've had some people say, like one other person, like, you know, I lost a child. This child was going to be named this. I don't know why this keeps coming to me, but that, you know, form some attachment so that you do have an emotional pull to who this person is, right? Because you're going out every day soliciting this person. And when you do that and you define it, there's a power to it. And that's why everyone thinks I'm so silly, but I'm like, name it. Name him or her. I want to know. All right, everybody's good on Avatar. I'm telling you, when you do these first 3 exercises, your values, your purpose, and your avatar, you will have so much direction. I call it like the, you know, the bumpers on the bowling alley lanes when you bring your kids, right? You almost cannot have a gutter ball because it'll just keep you on the straight and narrow. And we need that because we got so much coming at us from all different ways. All right, learn how to set goals. I feel like I'm at Keller Williams and talking about setting goals. Like, y'all are masters at setting goals. Y'all don't need me to tell you to set goals. What you need me to tell you to do is to execute them. And what does that look like, right? Like, I can't even tell you the number of programs or seminars that I've been to, and it's like these sessions are amazing. And, you know, for a lot of you that are into the DISC assessment, do they still do that with each one of you that comes in? So everybody's had one? Okay. It's so beautiful because just the sense of awareness that you get from it and the tool that you can use it to be a better person, it's astounding. I am a DC, but my eye is above the line, which makes me tolerable. Thank you, Jesus.
I had a teacher that was DC. He had a bald head.
I'm sorry.
I was terrified of him.
We're terrible. We're terrible humans.
Very diligent.
Very, very. I'm just grateful every day that eye, you know, cracked that line and made me human. Because I will. My natural reaction to things, I mean, I am immediately like, I want to accomplish every goal right now, and I want to do it perfectly. And you can imagine how intense that is for the people that I work with, like Mallory being introduced, and, you know, I, you know, am the, you know, integrator for that company and hold them accountable. That could be very intense if I'm not self-aware. And so I've had to work on myself a lot. And then likewise, my internal battle, y'all. That is my internal battle growing up as a child, and you don't realize that until you're shown that on paper and can really start working through it. I drive myself nuts with expectations that are just outrageous, right? There's a beauty behind that, and I like love it now, but like everything makes so much more sense when you really turn in to be self-aware. So, but yes, I remember when I did the certification class, Dr. Abelson, he teaches the class himself. And so we all logged in, and he had a note for everybody to enter their first 2, right? Because there's 358 variations, not just 4. And so those different levels on each one make such a difference. But he just wanted to start off with everybody's first 2. And he turned his camera on, he was like, "It's you?" And I was like, "Oh, that's mean." He's like, "There's only like 4% of y'all. Y'all are nuts." I was like, "Thank you." He said, if you look, because he's very big on looking at people in history. He's like, you're either going to be very successful or you're going to commit suicide. It's like, great, okay. He's a strange man too. Just being honest. With Dr. Abelson, you're weird.
It's another wording for like self-sabotage, I think he's saying.
Yeah, well, you drive, yeah.
Different ways to look at it, different perspectives.
Correct. And I mean, the only way you can do it is working on yourself, but that's anything in life. So until people realize that, but this, this is a good foundation and a starting point, because again, that self-reflection, am I seeing myself accurately? And the DISC really helps you in doing that. So I do well on goals, right? And implementing goals, because I'm task as my two first primary, right? Most people, and thankfully me as well, have above the line for your personal traits, right? Your I's and your S's. And so when you lead with the I's and you lead with the S, which is a lot of real estate agents. Why? Because y'all got into this because of people. That's beautiful. But that also means that you focus on people. And so you feel really accomplished when you have really good conversations. But really good conversations is not always really good business. I love that for y'all, and I love when you have those days. So my husband's an ID. Jared is a DI. Y'all know my partner, Jared. I always refer to him. And then John, who is like my favorite person in the universe, our other partner, he's a high SI. IS, actually. And like, I think I love him the most because if you look on the DISC assessment, he's opposite of me. So like, he's leading with everything I'm not leading with, and that just makes me appreciate him so much more. But when you have that high I and you don't have a corresponding D element or C element, you will be scattered. You will have every intention to achieve every goal, and you will be hype when you leave all of these meetings and you set some goals. And then guess what you're gonna do?
Not do none of it.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Right? And it's funny, and like I said, my husband's like that, and I just absolutely love him, clearly. Still with him, putting up with him. And he does, and that is his clarity. He runs it out to find the focus, and he has to have some kind of process. Now, once you set him on it, there is nothing that I can ask him to do that he will not accomplish. Nothing. And so like from the outside, me, unrealistic expectation setter, I'm just like, you can achieve everything in the world. Like, so why aren't you? And he's like, because I was having a really good time. And that's good for him. So I want you to know that about yourself, because there's no good or bad personality trait. Like, it takes all of us to make the world go round. And I think one of the things I'm most proud of about my partners is if you plotted us on the DISC wheel, we all complement one another. We're in all 4 quadrants. And I really think that's what makes us so powerful when we have our leadership meetings. It's like there's just a beauty to it, and you can watch every behavior, and we all work on ourselves, so we're also self-aware when we see those triggers, right? So like they did that that video, I don't know if y'all saw it on our page, it was really cute, but we got a new marketing girl, Allie, and she's in-house with us now, so she gets to do all these fun things. And she like timed everybody walking in the office or whatever, but it was just the Covington office. So I'm like, I know all my S's sitting in Slidell are like, they didn't include us, right? And me as a D, I'm laughing because I'm like, I'm looking out for their reaction, but my reaction was like, I got there before all of y'all. It's like I immediately like am a competition, right? So it's funny when you know yourself so well, you just start to laugh at how you react to something rather than feeling like a victim. So much power in that, and now I've went on 7 squirrels. So, wasn't it a cute video? It was really cute. So again, I don't need to teach y'all how to set goals. I put a SMART goal setting sheet in there. Everybody's heard of SMART goal setting? I mean, I feel like you'd have to be under a rock to never have heard it at least once, right? It's just an acronym. And you can see it, and it's listed on your sheet. We're doing specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. The only thing that I changed that I've seen on other SMART goal setting, and it really ticks me off, they put realistic instead of relevant. And I feel like when you use the word realistic, it limits you. I'm not worried about your goal being realistic. I'm worried about it being in line with your values and your purpose. That's what I want you to focus on when you look at relevant. When I go back to my purpose, am I working on a goal that helps me achieve my purpose? Because that's where we start seeing squirrels and stop being intentional. So please focus on that. And if you see another SMART goal sheet that says realistic, rip it up because Lauren told you to. From there, the big part to me is the action plan, right? How are we going to achieve those goals? You need to break that down into a system to where you're taking your big annual goal, or maybe it's just the next 6 months, right? Because I don't even know how we're already halfway into the year, but we're already halfway into the year. So we just got the second part of the year left. Break that down over the next 6 months. So what do you need to achieve every month? And then if you need to achieve something in a month, then what do you need to do? Take action every week. Because if you wait to the end of the month, are you going to do it? No. So if you notice, when I gave you the task, how long did I give you to accomplish it? 1 week. Because any task should not take longer than 1 week if it's important to you. If it is, you either are not living your priorities and not being intentional, right? And you're seeing squirrels, or it's not the right goal and it's not your purpose and therefore it's not important to you. Right? So when we're holding each other accountable on I don't even know how many meetings it is on Monday, Hamal? But we all meet, and if there's something that is supposed to be done in a week, it's like, why didn't do it? This is not important to you? No? Okay, you're just not being intentional. Well, let's work on that behavior. How can we become more intentional so that we're accomplishing it in a week? If you're getting your tasks done every week, you will reach your goal. I also have so many businesses that come to me, and they're like, I can't afford to have a CFO, so then I don't know how we're going to move forward and be successful. You don't need a CFO to forecast your activity. Your activity produces the result. So if you just focus on your activity and you're meeting your activity, the goal's going to follow, and therefore your financial forecast will be met, right? Yeah. And then each week you can also track how many open closings do you need, right? Because at least one of these is going to be volume and financial based. You can backdate it to how many closings you need open any given month based on your average, amount that you collect off of a file. And you can even, if you don't have a lot of history because you're new, like you, Ronnie, you could go on what the average is in the community, right? Yeah. Average sales price. And then you know how many you need to close for how much money you want to take home. Then you take that all the way back, right? You reverse engineer it. What is my conversion rate? Do you close every person you ever meet with? I mean, again, that high D, I'm like, it's like 99.8. But honestly, you're going to have some kind of drop off, right? Some kind of conversion. And so your activity needs to be a little bit higher. And so if you truly reverse engineer that, you will get all the way to the number of connections you need to make every single day. And so you can track it. And if you meet them every single day, guess what? You're going to be successful. And then when you're sitting there and all your high eye squirrels are happening and you're like, I don't know what to do, I'm just going to go run. No, you're not. You're going to make your connections first and then you can go run, right? And when you're having trouble making those connections, but you know you're good at running every day, Jason calls that an anchored habit. And his is running as well. So if he's having trouble accomplishing something, he doesn't allow himself to run unless he accomplishes it, right? You're not going to disappoint yourself on the things that you care about. So attach that anchored habit so that you know you do the things that you need to do. That's how you build your new habit, right? And so that was just an example of reverse engineering activity as it relates to volume and finances. I want you to have a second goal that has nothing to do with volume or finances. So you need to have 2 goals. Now, I can give y'all 2 weeks on this since y'all already have 4 things you have to do in 1 week. So this will be your first goal that you have first task, that you have 2 weeks for. And that's going to be to come up with 2 SMART goals. And by SMART goals, I mean that they fit every category: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And when we talk about relevant, what is it relevant to?
The goals of purpose.
Purpose, that's correct. Your purpose and your values. So we'll have 2 goals set, one of them being volume or financial based. Y'all understand what I mean by that? Like, I want to make X amount of dollars per year, or I want to close X amount of transactions per year, right? That's one of those goals, and I don't care which way you look at it. Some people like to look at dollar signs. Some people like to just look at numbers and transactions. So that's your choice. The second one needs to be something that is development related. Is it industry development related? Or is it personal development related? I don't care which one it is, because both are going to help you get to your goal. I was very disappointed, I'm not going to lie, yesterday. The East St. Tammany Business Alliance had the St. Tammany assessor speak. Guess how many real estate agents were there? 2. 2. He spoke to the East St. Tammany Business Alliance yesterday and at the Harbor Center in Slidell. Now, it was hard for me to listen because my ears were still red for the fact that he didn't show up at our continued education event. Elected official that canceled on us the day before. Yes, that happened. Remember that when you vote. He has since reached out and said, we'd like to make amends if you want to do another event. I'm like, if you had any idea how long and how much money it costs us to put that on and what it takes to get 135 real estate professionals in one place for an entire day, you wouldn't so easily send me that email. But I haven't had the chance to tell him that in person yet, but I will. Again, I'm a D. I'll tell him very directly how I feel. But he was there, 2 people. So like, are you truly paying attention to current events and have some kind of habit built to where you're developing in the industry and paying attention? I would have thought, when I look at the real estate industry, I see we made it through rates, right? It is what it is. Everyone's starting to accept that. Is that our problem right now? No, the problem became insurance, right? And insurance is not going to change in the near future. Are changes being put in place? Yes. If you came to our continued education event, we had him on one of our state representatives on the panel talking about that. There's a lot of changes, but that's going to take time. So guess what? While neither one of those 2 things are solved, the reassessment year is coming. No one's stopping it. And our values have changed significantly in the last 4 years. Prices skyrocketed. So we're about to have a very big shift in how individuals are going to qualify due to their escrow account, not their principal and interest, right? If I was in the real estate industry, I would want to be able to know that and communicate that to clients, what's about to happen when they're trying to make those decisions. If I'm working with real estate investors, I would want to know that.
That's one of my things was knowledge.
Yes. So then your next goal, if that's one of your values, should you not have a goal that you are increasing your knowledge base in some area of real estate? That's directly in line with your values, right? So that's an easy choice for you for what that second one's going to be, right? Do y'all want me to give you the quick rundown of what he said?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
If you get with Anthony, he will forward the rest of the PowerPoint because there's a lot more to it if you wanted to continue the exercise, and you can just call me if you have any questions. You're welcome. So
Good to meet all of y'all.
anticipation of a 19% increase overall. That's a lot. It's a lot. Because all the assessor does is change the value of the properties, right? Millage is set, then he does the value, and then you apply the 2 together. So he's saying in values in general, right? And again, that's overall. It's going to include commercial, right? You know, so don't say every single property is going up by 19%. That's not true. Second, he is going to do a tiered rollout, a fourth, a fourth, a fourth, a fourth, for any properties where their value increase was $50,000 or more. And he said he'll be generous if it's like 49 and change. He'll let them qualify for it. The kicker for real estate agents, if you sell within the 4 years, do they get the benefit of the tier? No. So when we go, let's say, all right, you have a home that's $250,000 in the past assessment from 2020. We turn around in 2024, it comes back out and it's $300,000. That qualifies. So that means it's going to increase, but that increase will be spread out a quarter, building upon itself until our next assessment, right? So we get 1/4 of that increase in year 1, and then they decide to sell the house. That new person buying in 2026 or at the end of 2025 is going to have to take the full amount. They don't get the benefit of the step up.
And it's a quarter each year.
Added, yeah,
Of their, of whatever the increase is on their taxes.
correct. So I was so happy to hear that, and then guess what he said? Only 2,000 homes fit in that as of right now.
How many? Say that again?
2,000. That's it.
Out of
So I'm like,
parish or in the?
yeah, this is the whole parish. This whole parish. So then I'm like, so then like the rest of us all have $45,000 increase in. Yeah, okay.
How did they arrive at the 50K? Did he explain the?
He didn't give a ton into it, no. Oh, and he did confirm,
It should be a percentage versus a flat.
right,
You know,
no,
like,
yeah.
Yes, they're gonna generally be up 19%, but like it should be, if they've gone up a range.
Yeah, like you could have a lot, and then a lot could go 100% increase and double in taxes, but not meet 50,000.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, that's another example.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't, I don't know why
Yeah.
50K is.
That's what he chose.
50K. Like,
He also
how-
confirmed he picks January 2023 and goes 6 months back and 6 months forward, and that's the period that he's assessing, which property values were high then. Not that they've started to drop significantly, but like they were definitely high then. So that's my tidbits from it. I'm still working through it, and I have a lot of questions that I'm gonna present to him when he comes to meet Jared and I at the office. But
Okay. So just one more question on that. So
and they fit within that program,
Right.
it'll
They're
just
only
add on
having
1/4
increase
each year.
in 1/4. So are they telling them what, like, at the end of, where we in 2024, are they gonna say, okay, here's your new assessment, here's what your amount's gonna be, and you are on the tiered program? Like, is there gonna be a notification to that?
He didn't provide an example of what, right, you don't have to sign up. He did confirm that. But like, he didn't say how they're gonna be notified, and that's a big problem for us, because as the title company, when we're trying to calculate these, lenders are gonna be trying so hard to make sure people still qualify that they're not gonna wanna use fair market value of what y'all contracted for, right? They're gonna wanna pull what's on the assessor site. But if we do that, they're not gonna have enough money in the escrow account because they don't get the benefit of the tier.
They just readjust on their site, they don't.
Yeah, you just get your tax bill.
Yeah.
Whenever that program's not available, your tax bill is your tax bill, and that's just what it is, right? And look, we've had issues with lenders doing that over the last 3 years when the market was crazy, because they'd be like, they're not gonna qualify, and y'all submitted taxes at blah, blah, blah amount. And we're like, we submitted taxes based on your contract price. Now, if the lender tells us, because it's their decision, not ours, that they wanna accept what the existing tax bill is, then that's fine. But we just have to warn them, it's gonna be reassessed in 2024.
No, so wait, they're gonna be tiered for 4 years, and that's the next assessment.
Correct, it'll go all the way through.
Okay.
Mhm.
So this is-
Yep, oh. I don't know what happened there. So the other two are working. Did I like turn it off somehow? Anyway, okay. Questions on that? Questions on goals? So in 2 weeks, you're gonna have one volume-based goal, which is either volume or dollars, and then you're gonna have one other development goal, right? Whether it's personal development or professional development. We should always be working on ourselves, y'all. Always, every single day. All right, now, like I said, y'all don't need me. Y'all are KW experts. Y'all don't need me on goal setting. Y'all need me on an accountability system. So when we're breaking that down, we need to talk about single point accountability. Are the right people doing the right things? And most of agents look back at me and like, it's me, Lauren, it's me. So like the whole chart, it's me. Yes and no, right? You all have somebody that you're working with in your life, even if it's your referral partners that are important to you, that are part of your system because they take care of things for you. Like we have some agents that on their listings, we do a pre-screen on almost every single one. That is part of their defined process, and therefore we're part of their structure, right? We have some agents that have a transaction coordinator. We have some agents that are part of a team. We have some agents that use an outside third-party marketing agency for creative content or for publishing their content. All of those referral sources should be part of your accountability structure, right? And even if ultimately you're accountable that they're doing their job correctly, they're still there and you're still relying on them to do something. So like when you start actually looking and thinking at like this is a business, not just me out here on my own, you're gonna feel a lot better. You're gonna feel a lot more structured. You're gonna feel a lot more supported, right? So take everybody that you consistently work with on transactions and build out your organizational chart. Who's part of it, right? One of the biggest things, because I get a lot of businesses that I work with, non-real estate related, and they want to put teamwork as one of their values. I'm all about it. If you notice, it was one of Arena's. I'm okay when it's properly defined. One of the things I hate about teamwork, y'all ever get those emails where it's written to 3 people and something has to happen, but it's just written to 3 people? So 1 or 2 things are going to happen. The ball's going to get dropped because everybody's going to assume the other person's done it, or there's going to be double work somewhere, and then therefore we're inefficient and we're not moving forward in the right direction. It is like a pet peeve of mine. So when I see those emails in any of our organizations, I'm immediately responding with, who is this directed to? I want all the people to be copied. Everybody except Rebecca. Do y'all see her funny sign things? Do not reply all. That was one of my favorites.
But I don't like when you don't reply all.
I know, it depends on the
Exactly. And so I forwarded and said, unless directed to do so. They were like, oh, Lauren. Exactly.
Misused on both sides of the line.
Exactly. And in our side, especially on the title side for you all, we have so many moving parts and so many people that are involved, right? We have you all, we have the lender, we have inspectors, we have, random people that come in, added TCs. Like, we want to notify everybody but it's always a challenge to me that there needs to be one single point of accountability. So even if everybody's copied, but Wanda needs to do this, hey, Wanda, you need to do this. Everybody else, enjoy your day. You like Wanda? Wanda ain't got a motor in the back of her Honda. No, I'm kidding. But single point accountability is very, very important. So once you create what that chart is, it becomes very clear that you need to be speaking to Wanda and not Bobbert, right? Because Bobbert's not a part of that title. He's over here. Wanda's over there. Wanda's over here. Wanda's over there. I keep singing in my head all the time. Y'all get it on structure? You're going to build out an accountability structure? It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't need software for it. You could write bubbles on a piece of paper and draw some lines. Don't make
Speaking of that,
excuses.
do y'all have like, I have certain people that work on certain files, or like, mainly, I have a file with y'all now, I think it's Kelsey? I'm getting confused, anyway.
Haley is your main point of contact on every file.
Okay.
She does,
That's my question.
Haley is
Haley.
the, like, if there was an air traffic controller at the airport, it's our airport and it's Haley. So she directs everything. Once it gets through a certain way, there's a couple people behind the scenes, but we don't even engage them. So, Ken, what's up? We don't even engage them because we don't want it to be too confusing with too many people. And then once it gets to the ready to be balanced with the lender, then it goes to the two closers, and that's the other Lauren, which is LC at Arena, which, y'all, it's so funny because I call her LC with her initials, and people started calling her Elsie like the cow, like ELSIE. So if y'all ever want to make her laugh, you can email her at Hey Elsie, and she will love it. We laugh all the time. She closes everything that's just strictly residential St. Tammany, and most of Orleans. Amanda, who sits in our Baton Rouge office most days, she does all the remote locations and all creative and commercial. So it's based on type of file. So if you come through with a bond for deed, Amanda's going to be your closer. If you're doing a residential purchase, Elsie's going to be your closer. If you're doing a Baton Rouge residential purchase, Amanda's going to be your closer. But that's why we keep Haley on both, because y'all know no matter what it is, you can get in touch with Haley. Haley is always your main point of contact. Okay, and then from there, once you have your chart, how are you meeting with everybody that's there to hold them accountable, right? What system are you using to make sure that you're meeting with them and holding them, hey girl, hey, so that we can make sure we're getting everything that we need done every single week, right? This is where that ball stops. This is where y'all leave so jazzed and y'all are gonna accomplish those goals, and then you don't have a meeting with yourself or anybody else that you're working with, and guess what? You just get busy. Does it mean you're lazy? No. Did you have a really good week? Do you have those really great days where you have great client conversations? Like, you're still busy, you're still doing things, but you're wondering why you're not reaching your goals? Because you're not holding yourself accountable, right? And so that's where you need to set whatever your meeting pulse or your meeting structure is going to be. And if you remember, we talked back, it's once a week. You should be accomplishing all tasks that you have to accomplish within 1 week. And therefore, you should have a meeting how often? Once a week, right? Because you're going over it. And then when you don't do that are we going to beat ourselves up and say it's not working? No, we're going to refocus based on what? The foundation that we built, our values and our purpose. Because remember, I told you when I sit down with Mal and Jonah and we talk about it and we talk about the why, well, is it because it doesn't align with our values and maybe we need to fix that? Is it because we're not moving towards that specific goal that's super important to us? Or is it just that we're having trouble prioritizing, right? And you're having these conversations with yourself and your accountability partner to keep you on track. And when you do that and your energy is streamlined, you're guaranteed to succeed, right? So we're on number 5, since you're my number checker.
I love it. I just got an accountability partner. We discussed
Yay.
Friday at the time.
That is your 5th piece of homework is in 2 weeks, because we moved on to 2 weeks. I already gave y'all too many 1 week things. In 2 weeks, I need to know who your accountability person is going to be and the date and time of your meeting each week. You may already have this. Great. Write it down. Know that that's important to you. Now, does your accountability partner have to be your boss? No. Does your accountability partner need to be your spouse? No, exactly. I'm glad you said that. I was like, I'm ready to do the same thing. Right? Find somebody that understands you're crazy, is invested in your success, but is brutally honest with you, right? My best friend is one of the mildest, people see us like, how are y'all friends? You know, it's because she calls me out of my bullshit all the time without hesitation. And I am so appreciative of that, right? Find somebody that understands that you want to grow and they're not afraid to help you get there because it does get sticky, right? So in 2 weeks, what are we going to have? Who our accountability partner is going to be? And a date and time when you're meeting. That's right. Every week, y'all, pick a good time. This is your priority. You know when you can miss? When you're dead. Yeah. Most books and things say when you're on vacation. I still join it. I'm like a fiend. But again, we already talked about that. I'm crazy. You know this already. Good? So y'all should have 5 tasks already written down. Everybody's on board? I can't wait. I can't wait to watch y'all succeed and have your meetings. All right, defining and documenting your process. Who was at our CE this year? Was it Megan? So I talked about this again. I talked about SOPs a lot this year, right? This is the essence of business. And it's fun because St. Tammany Parish is huge on small business, right? So on our law firm side, I get so many amazing entrepreneurs that are hugely successful, making a great deal of money, but they don't have a business. They have what I call one-man shows. Sound familiar? A lot of real estate agents. One-man shows, right? Hugely successful. You're great at what you do. You're going to have wonderful days. You're going to have some success, but you don't necessarily have a streamlined business. And why do we want a streamlined business? You want to have a saleable asset to know that you're building some sort of legacy, right? Because otherwise it's just you and your relationships. And what does that look like, right? You want to be able to go on vacation. Like, it is funny. I like that meme that's going around with like the person in the water on the laptop that says they're a real estate agent. Like, it's cute. It's cute. But like at the same time, exactly. At the same time, I'm like, y'all.
It doesn't make you a better realtor.
It doesn't have to be that way. And like, how many friendly people do y'all have in your office? Y'all have an amazing office with amazing support. People will step up and help you. But guess what? They can't help you if you don't help yourself.
And if you're too available and you're not appreciating value,
That's right.
you devalue yourself.
Well, yeah, for your own self-worth, because you're finding value in somebody else and therefore you're never able to detach.
It's because people don't have the operating procedure.
Correct, because they're not able to say, I need your help, here's my checklist, and I already did this, can you just start here and I'll be back there and make sure this is done, and here's my forms and this is where I keep it, right? Because y'all running around like crazy. That's a whole look. That's a whole. I got asked to do a keynote speech, and it was like way less about business, and Mal was at that too. Gosh, I'm sorry, Mal. Make him do all this other stuff. But I talked a lot about that, right? Like truly being who you are and living your priorities, and until you do that, you're not going to find peace. But back to documenting the process. If you don't prepare this, you can't ask somebody for help clearly. You can't set a proper expectation. And guess what? A lot of my whole conversation at the CE was y'all are always worried about all the contracts and how the changes in the real estate industry are about to change, right? The whole entire required CE was buyer's rep agreement, right? And I got up there, and obviously I'm an attorney. Obviously I respect contracts, but what's way more important than that? The client being happy. How can the client be happy? You exceed their expectations. How can you exceed expectations? You got to start with setting expectations. How can you set expectations if you cannot communicate your process? You can't, right? So if you could do anything, we're on number 6. Task number 6. I'll give you 3 weeks for this one. So much homework for y'all. I want you to start with just listing out your core task from the moment that you solicit a client all the way through to post-closing. Megan's already started this because she started doing it when she was at the CE. She could pull out her little workbook and rip out her pages. Then from there, you're going to decide, does each one need to have its own, and y'all know what SOPs are, standard operating procedures, right? You're just saying how you actually follow through on that process or that task that you're providing to someone, right? And I did have handouts in the CE, so if you're having trouble getting started, I will tell you, it doesn't have to be anything formal. It could be a spreadsheet, it could be an Excel sheet, but if you do want our handouts, I can get those to y'all. Just email me. And I want y'all to think this one. This is, I think, for real estate. And I had to learn this, again, coming from business law, going into real estate law. Like, it's all about communication. There's just too many parties. Everybody's responsible for something different. Clients are a nervous wreck because it's such a big transaction for them, and we get so in the motions because it's normal for us, right? And we're not necessarily giving it the gravity of what they're going through. You do that by constantly communicating with them. And if you tell them how often you're going to communicate with them, they're not going to be nervous. They're not going to be wondering, right? And so one of the biggest things that I see missing in every SOP that somebody sends to me to audit is they don't have time frames. Like it says, first, I call the clients. We have the meeting. We sign the contract. I email it. That could happen over a week. That can happen over 24 hours. You tell me, because I want you to be able to tell the client that, right? So if you hear us talking about our process to you all, or you send a file in and Jared or John or I are copied on it, we immediately respond and say, we're getting this open today, Haley will be in touch. Why? Because we know it's our process that Haley will be in touch with all parties the same day if it's open before 4:30 or within 24 hours if not, right? There is a required timeline for what she has, and we can set that expectation with you all. We can tell a lender when we get a title request that you will have title work in 5 to 7 business days, because every part of our process is timed, and that 7 days has the cushion for any of the overflow, so within 7 days title work is back, right? You need to build that out for your process, make sure that you have time frames, and make sure that you include every element of communication. Because after you have this defined, you're gonna feel so good in those client meetings because you're gonna say, this is what's happening next. It's not gonna be just the next step. It's gonna be, this is what's gonna happen throughout the process, right? And everybody's looking right now, again, how are we differentiating ourselves? How are we adding value? Your value add to that client is holding their hand, right? Because once you do the hard work up front, but then you have to hand it off to us and the lender. And I'm sure that doesn't feel good. My personality style, I hate handing shit off, right? I mean, I wanna hold on to it and see it all the way through, right? So I have to work on that. And I'm sure that's uncomfortable for you all because you're relying on those referral partners. But if you're doing that and setting the proper expectation and the expectations are set with those referral partners, then everybody's moving in the same direction. And again, funneled energy lends to success, right? Questions on SOP? Because I am yakking away. No way.
Talking about, No, just creating SOPs.
Yes.
So.
And so you could do it together and support one another.
We are
Oh,
gonna actually do
that brings me so much joy. Like,
a workshop.
please invite me so I can watch it. Like that is my life.
Tell us what we're doing.
That is my life. And now I will say this with a caveat. I hate business being over-processed. I don't think that process should be used to stifle business. You always have to make practical decisions and be able to make decisions quickly based on your values and purpose. That is not the purpose of SOPs. The purpose of SOPs is for you to be so comfortable and set clear expectations with all parties that are involved, right? And if you do that, you're using it properly. But I mean, literally that is my existence, is there's a problem and I'm like, there is a solution to it. You just need to define what that solution is and make sure that everybody knows it. It's gonna be beautiful. Beautiful. All right, next. So you did all of that. We built our foundation, right? We have our values, we have our purpose, and we have our ideal client. So we know exactly what we want to say. Then we know all the value that we're going to add because we defined that process, right? Because we're 3 weeks from now. Now we can get out there and have a strategy and a plan. I already told y'all, because it was the second task that y'all have to do, that you're going to talk about your values on social media. So you already have a little bit of your marketing plan in place. But what is a marketing strategy? Because I feel like these are also buzz phrases that seem so overwhelming, and they don't have to be, right? So I like to break them down as simple as it is. You've already done some of it, right? Your marketing strategy is your avatar. Did anybody name theirs yet? I didn't even ask if somebody.
I keep thinking everyone's
Lane?
You were speaking, it just spoke to me.
I love it. It's perfect. I love it. Yeah, I'm excited.
Elsie, she should just be Elsie.
She should be Elsie.
I'm thinking
It's
of all
so
these others,
funny.
but I can't think of mine.
Yeah, I know it.
Just go something.
So your avatar, you've already done. Your proven process, you're gonna already have done that as well, right? So I then want you to focus on 3 things that make you unique and your guarantee. Y'all, that should be your walk-in elevator pitch. You should be able to encounter anybody, right? If you're like my husband, like he can't even get deli meat at the grocery without like finding out what their children's names are. At that same moment, what is his guarantee? What is his 3 uniques, right? This should roll off so easy and define how you're going to add that value, right? Our guarantee, I just told you a second ago, title work, 5 to 7 business days. You'll know, that's why we always say, don't wait for inspection. Send us the stuff. We'd rather do the work and it fall off and cancel than be behind, because that is our guarantee. That's what makes us different. That's why we do it in-house, right? One of our uniques, you're always dealing with an attorney, right? That's something that's unique to us. Everybody might not find value in it, but the people that we want to do business with find value in it. Make sense? So right now, give me a minute and think about what those 3 uniques are, because that's hard. That's hard to work through. What are 3 things that make you unique? Ken is his ability to photograph homes and make you smile. Don't be an asshole. That's Ken's first impression of me. So he says everybody to hold the po' boy and like, what is your real estate one? Buy a house for me? What is it?
You know, just house me and everybody holds the keys to our met and all that, and I told Lauren, right after I met her, 5 minutes, I said, I have a stick for realtors, I don't really stick for like a loan processor or an attorney, and Lauren's answer was,
Don't be an asshole.
and I use that on every attorney since, and they all laugh. And they all say,
You're welcome.
Lauren.
You're right, yeah. Poor attorneys. But man, a lot of them are, you know? It's a good reminder. It is a good reminder. All right, who wants to share? Even if you don't have 3, do you have 1? Give me a unique. What you got? Mallory, what makes Lettuce Media unique?
The way Jonah dresses.
1,000%, because it makes you laugh and comfortable.
Yeah.
Also questioning whether he washes hair. Either one, we love it. Every day.
I'm like, it's Bria.
And then-
Bria's wife is a hairstylist.
She is.
And media hair is like,
Communication, that is huge. And again, because that goes into SOP, it's huge.
Clear, honest communication, open.
I love it. Come on, somebody else. What makes you unique? If you don't know one thing about what makes you unique, your homework over the next 3 weeks is to dive inside. Y'all should know this.
The ability to make someone feel comfortable about
Yes,
whatever it is
You're so good at that.
we're doing, you know?
It is true. I can attest to that. You're warm. You bring people in. You are.
And then cleaning and organization, we do that.
That's a really good one.
Add that in.
And organization just in general, because again, the way you laughed, you're a high I when I was talking about all the I stuff.
I did the test, but I don't know if I was.
Okay.
But I was under.
When I was explaining that, she was laughing. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. You are. But so organization is huge on that. If you don't have it, you're not going to accomplish anything. You're going to have really great days and wonderful conversations and be an awesome person. Everybody's going to like you, right? We do that for interviews. I'm like walking in, I'm like, you're really going to like them. That doesn't mean they're going to. Got to set my mind right, because y'all are so likable. All right. Once you have your target market, which you're going to have in a week, your 3 uniques, which you're going to have in 3 weeks, right? Your proven process in 2 weeks, and then you need to define what your guarantee is. Can you guarantee that you're going to find somebody a house? No. Can you guarantee you're going to sell their house? No. So stay away from that. Please don't put that, because you will have some failure, right? But what's a clear expectation that you can promise, right? Promise if there's an issue that I'm going to be there to help you solve it. I promise there's an issue you're going to get communicated with immediately upon receipt. You know, whatever it is, and again, you're thinking back to the ideal client avatar, right? So we're talking back, what is the problem Lane is having? What do they want to hear, right? What do the lanes want to hear? Do they want to know immediately, or do they want to know when I have a solution and know that I'm working on it?
And then you can think from this point of view of like where you've worked with a realtor maybe in the past, or know people that's like, what did they do wrong for you? Where did they
Right.
make you feel uncomfortable?
Mhm.
Do better. I've had a realtor not show up, not
Oh.
communicate at all. I mean, I'm just like, I'm scared.
I promise I will show up, right?
We have a lot of agents who got into the business because they did not like a transaction or the
Yes.
way that a transaction
Do
went
better.
with a family.
Do better. That's so funny. Charles's boyfriend, Charles, that's our paralegal. His boyfriend, he does that. Like he has a sign that says "Do better," and he like laughs at us, and he likes every one of our pages. He's hilarious, y'all. I cannot wait to tell him that.
We can all do
Joey, do better. Okay, we'll have to send that to him. He's like our #1 Instagram fan. They broke up for like a week, and we were like, "Where's Joey?" It's not liking our stuff. All right, once you have your strategy, then you can build out your plan, right? So your plan is just how you're going to communicate the things we talked about above. Because remember I told y'all when we did Teddy, it's like, where are we talking to Teddy? What magazines is Teddy looking at, or Teddy's wife looking at, you know? What presence is going to appeal to Teddy? How are we going to draw him in? Same thing. Where is your ideal client looking for information? If you remember on your sheet, it talked about where they're getting information and interest, right? Social media, calls and texts, email campaigns, print and digital ads. So if you don't have your ideal client defined, how can you even determine this? But yet, how many people are going to do this without an ideal client defined? Channeled energy, people. Channeled energy. So then you can start building out what that looks like. What is our goal in the end of all marketing? Build a relationship with clients, right? The money is the byproduct. It happens, right? But we already established, why did most of y'all get into this business? To build relationships. It's who you are as a person. Own it. That's awesome. You don't have to be here to make money. It can be the byproduct. If you're a utilitarian motivator, maybe it is, and that's fine too. Own it. Be who you are. But at the end of the day, you need to improve your customer relations, and you're doing that by how you communicate with your clients. So that's part of marketing, right? If anything takes a dip and we're like, oh, we have a certain number of files, again, I talked to y'all about forecasts. I'm so huge on like volume and specific. So we open 36 files per week, then that will get us to exactly where we need to be for that particular company, right? And so we're tracking that, and I know every single week of where we are. But if it's ever below that, my DI buddy, because he's so high on a D and so high on an I, he wants to accomplish a goal, but it also is going to have an emotional impact on him. If he doesn't, he's going to feel he let people down, right? And he immediately is like, it's my job to bring in business. And he is. He's freaking incredible at it, right? But if our customer relations aren't good by everybody else in the company, that's also how we bring in business, and the business will go right out the door. So no matter how good his man bun and his long locks bring people in, that can push them right back out, y'all. Ugh. It was so funny. We met the other day, and Stephanie and I give him so much crap about his hair, and he was like, I need to take my hair down and adjust my pony. I don't want you making fun of me. And I was like, well, go walk out there because it's disgusting. We just give each other a bunch of crap. We're like two siblings. So that client relationship is so important. Are you listening to your client? And when I say listen, like truly listening, not just hearing them. Are you listening to their needs and solving their problems? Are you finding ways to connect through those shared experiences, through past, maybe bad experiences, right? So that you know you're truly understanding their needs and interests. Do you ever go deep enough to learn or recognize their love languages or their personality styles so that you're properly adjusting your communication style for them, right? I work with business owners. I have to do that. It's like one of the most stubborn group of people that you could ever work with, right? And then I'm stubborn myself. So if I'm not mindful of that, we can communicate for days and never truly communicate, right? Because it's not just communication, it's comprehension. So are you truly identifying their communication styles? Are you asking your clients in the meeting which method of communication do they prefer? Are you watching that when you send them a book of questions that they're not responding, but if you send one at a time, they will? Are you watching that they'll pick up the phone when you call, but they're not going to respond to text? If you're not doing these things, then you're not properly improving your communication relations. Your customer relations. Are you truly anticipating the needs and problems? You cannot anticipate needs and problems unless you know who your ideal client is and therefore know what their needs and problems are, right? So you're getting how all of this is tying together for that focused energy and intentionality. Yes? All right. So we're going to have 3 uniques and a guarantee. Ready in 3 weeks? Yeah, Lauren, yeah, we are. It's going to be amazing. Again, I want to be able to walk up to you at the next, get that awesome hug that you give to me, thank you. Because sometimes I need it, and all my angriness, and tell me what your 3 uniques are. So that when we are encountered with somebody, y'all want referrals from the people that you work with. How do they know they're finding the right clients for you? Like for me on the business side of things, I'm always directing business owners to CPAs. That's a hard thing to do because they all have very unique personalities. I need to match risk tolerance. I need to match level of communication to decide who's best for whom, industry knowledge, right? I feel like it's the same thing. If you say, this is my ideal client and this is how I'm unique, then people can go out and you have all of your friends and family selling you because they know how to now. Do that for them so that they can send you business. All right, opportunities for leverage. Delegate to elevate. Delegate to elevate. Delegate to elevate, right? Again, going back, Lauren, it's all me. Cool, but should it be? Right? Jared has talked about this on video before. He uses Daniel as an example. Daniel, until he got a transaction coordinator, his business would do this because Daniel's not good at paperwork. And so he would do really good at what he's really good at, then he would have to stop to do the crap he doesn't want to do, right? And there was an ebb and flow. Once he found a reason, not because he was high performing and it was time to spend money, that's the mistake people made. Oh, now I have the money to spend to do it. No, it was a conscious effort to invest in something that you're not good at. The most successful people in the world are resourceful people. It's not that they're good at everything. I challenge you. I challenge you to find anyone that is very successful, find a book about them and read it, and you will find out that they surround themselves with amazing people, not that they try to do it themselves. Most of the time, they're just ideas, and they actually really suck at a lot of things. But true leaders understand that, they're humble, they uncover other people's potential and let them contribute to the team, right? That's how you need to be thinking if you want your real estate business to be a business. Not that I'm just showing up today. No, I'm showing up today. This is what I'm really good at, and this is what I'm not good at. And if I could delegate any of these tasks, would I have more time and more energy to focus on what I'm good at, right? Who's ever been afraid to take that step? For whatever reason, right? Maybe it's a financial security reason, or maybe it's you need to work through controlling issues, right? That takes you your whole lifetime. Yeah. It's true, though. Jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. So props that you can at least touch on everything and do everything. That still doesn't mean that you're a master. It still doesn't mean that you're being most efficient that you possibly can be, right? If you go through, y'all have read Traction? Anybody's read Traction before? But when you're placing people in seats, they call it GWC. Do you get it? Do you want it? Do you have the capacity to do it? So when you're unsure, and maybe you're not very good at being humble, then you can use this exercise. Write all the things that you do. Joe. Write all the things that you do. And then by each one, do you truly get what the job is? Do I truly understand what's required of me in this position? Do I want it? Right? And that's when it becomes really important. Like, I hate doing this. Okay, well, let's identify that as a point of leverage if and when. And then the last one is the capacity to do it. And by capacity, I don't mean are you smart enough. All of y'all are in here are smart enough to do whatever the heck you want to do, right? But it's all the resources, the time, the energy, the equipment, whatever it may be, right? So if you're unsure, start with the GWC analysis. If you're ready for your business to scale and you don't know why it's not, this slide is hugely important to you, and go through the GWC analysis, right? I even laugh at myself in here. I didn't realize I did that. All my D's and C's, let go of the vine. You can do it. I listed a few things, but I'm not an agent, so y'all can definitely have other things. But searching for new relationships, managing your marketing or content creation. Megan's done a good job of leveraging some of that. Updating listings, file management, TCs, bookkeeping. And then the last one, y'all, the moment that I started getting somebody to cut the grass and do the laundry, I had my because I was staying up till like 3 a.m. on Sunday because I don't want to miss the opportunities to be with my kids on the weekend. Because if y'all have met with me before, y'all know like we scale everything out, and if it's a 10 for them in one of their sports activities, I'm there, right? And so I'm doing that all weekend, not doing laundry, and my husband's not home to do the grass. And when you do that, you start to have more balance. You start to live your priorities. So don't discount the things that can free up your time, right? Everybody's good on this? Who's going to do the GWC analysis? You're going to do it? Thank you. All right. I'm telling you, it's very valuable. I have a toolkit sheet for it. If y'all need it, just let me know. All right. Last wrapping up part of it, maintaining focus. I said it in the very beginning. We have so much coming at us. What are you doing to keep yourself intentional? Because everything else will pull you away. The second part of Bridgerton, just released. Like, wants to pull,
I literally don't watch TV, thankfully.
right? We don't do a lot of TV either. I don't do other ass, and I can do it, right?
But I have enough distractions.
And I'm being funny. Like, have your pleasures, by all means. But like, what are you doing? Like, my trigger, I know. So I get ready in the morning. I wake up early. Told y'all my husband, he goes and runs, meditates in his prayer time. That's his. So we're like separate in the morning, but that's our time, right? And my kids get up early, but like, it's like they know we're at that age. It's amazing. They don't need anything from me. But I'm sitting there, and if I'm not in the zone, I'll put on like Netflix while I'm doing my makeup. And I'm not even watching it, but it's something that's not feeding me. When I know that I'm on track and in the zone, I'm listening to a podcast or I'm listening to an ebook. Find out what your trigger is, and that doesn't mean that you don't have to ever watch TV. Watch TV, have your time. But is that what you're doing every time? And we all know social media. I don't even need to say it. Everybody knows it. I like pray for us because it's like now our kids have phones, and like we don't even have control. No one's taught us how to parent that. Anyway, another class. So these are a few things that can help maintain focus. So many podcasts, so many that y'all can listen to. And sometimes it's not real estate related. There are a ton of real estate related. And I know y'all are connected to the one thing. That's great. Y'all could do that. You resonate with that. Y'all study that. It's an easy selection. But sometimes it's personal development. Sometimes the personal development is relatability, right? So it really has nothing to do with like leadership, but just has to do with like a working mom. I don't know what it would be, right? But dive down deep to see what's going to feed you. Try a few different things. Books. That has been, that's just a game changer in my life. I can't even, like, my constant growth forward and self-reflection comes from reading because you're quiet, you're settled. And so in those moments when you're having new concepts, you can stop in your own time and have the self-reflection that's necessary for growth. That's the part that people miss, right? And I don't want to hear the excuses anymore because now they got ebooks. So all y'all that don't want to actually read a book, but if you have a book that you come across, ask me. So the front of our house is a foyer, and we just have a bunch of, my husband's a nerd too. And so we both like hard books. We have a ton. So y'all can borrow anything that I may have. And then if I don't have it, then you're telling me when I don't have, which makes me happy too. So your sphere of influence. So I know they talk to y'all about that a lot for business purposes. But also, what about soul purposes, right? Like, are they the people you need around you? If y'all are having a text message about SOPs, you've got the right people. That is freaking amazing. Like, that brings me so much joy. But not everybody has that, right? Or maybe you don't have it at the times that you need it. Jason and I have friends in our lives that we've been friends with, forever, and they only come around in certain times of life, right? And so you can kind of pay attention to who needs you, why they need you. Are you paying attention for that for yourself as well? Just to make sure, your tribe is really, what is it, vibe your tribe? I don't know, I'm not cool. But that's pushing you forward and supporting you. Your accountability partner. Y'all are all gonna have one within 1 week, because you have to. But is it the right person? Do you have the right accountability partner? If you have an accountability partner that's not self-aware and also not working on themselves, they're going to suck. Just is what it is. So make sure you find somebody that's on a journey with you to be better. And then last, y'all heard me touch on those anchored habits, so we use running as an example, right? You need to have 15 touches to 15 new prospects or clients combined in a day, right? If you don't do that, you don't get to run the next day. That's an example of an anchored habit. Find something that you know that you're committed to doing and give yourself small wins so that you can build confidence in yourself that you can accomplish it, right? And then last, I'll probably have one more thing. Yep. I'm always about some awareness and attitude. So these are just some things I always like to touch on. I end a lot of presentations with this over and over again because I think it's just so important to remember. So again, I explained to y'all how I wasn't always in real estate law, right? Business law. So when I came in from that outside lens on the industry as a whole, the comparison is a thief of joy thing really came to me. Like, it is such a competitive environment, and you're always promoting the wins. And so for a person like me, that's great. And other, you'll see other high Ds and it becomes like, oh, that's who the successful people are. No, that's the people that thrive in that type of environment. All the other personality traits can be just as successful. It's just this industry doesn't necessarily lend to it, right? So just a reminder to anybody that does not live in that healthy competitive zone that you're competing with you and your goals. Not everybody else is, right? My daughter is big into swim. I don't know if y'all follow me on my personal page, but she got into swim a long time ago and fell in love with it, and like that's where I'm going this weekend. We have one in Biloxi. I never swam, so both my husband and I are athletes, but that was just swim or volleyball, the two she chose. Neither one did we do, so we knew nothing about it. But when you jump in the pool, you are beating your own time every single time. And like I have come to just love the sport because of what that's teaching her, and it's so mental, and you're making your own decisions when you're in the lane. And when she talks to me about the decisions that she's making or what she's seeing or the different impacts, like it truly is a discipline, and it truly is a mental strength exercise, and you truly can learn your own focus. So like, yes, you're trying to win across, but you really can't see everybody at all times, right? You shouldn't. You shouldn't. And then on top of that, your team as a whole gets an award, but rarely is it personalized awards. Like you leave the meet and the person who got first overall for 11 and 12 girls gets nothing, because that's not what it's about. And you go a whole season like that. So it was very, very different from my upbringing, everything that I've experienced, and I've grown to love it for those reasons. And so Jason and I have a bunch of quotes around our house, and that's one of them. Comparison is a thief of joy. So just make sure that you are focusing on you, and it goes back to the same thing I keep saying, that energy, right? Keep that energy focused towards your goals. Healthy competition is good for emotionally mature people. And just because you might not like competition also doesn't mean that you're not emotionally healthy or mature. It could also mean that that's just not your natural personality trait. If you lead with an I and an S or an S and an I, and you don't have that D or C, you're people-oriented, so you're always going to look at competition as conflict. Stop being upset or mad at yourself about that and just acknowledge it. And then ignore everything in the industry that speaks against it. It's okay. It's just who you are as a person. There's a bunch of beauty behind that. Like John thinks Jared and I are ridiculous all the time. Audit your own behavior. Remember, I said it in the very beginning. As humans, we do not see ourselves accurately, right? And that speech that I just did in the Women in Business, I explained it like you have that inner toddler that's just always like telling you you're a victim of whatever's going around you. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. You're just constantly trying to justify, and your best friend's like, yeah, except my best friend. She's like, no, bitch, you did that wrong. Again, why I value her. Right? But we do. We don't necessarily see ourselves accurately. So what are you doing to practice awareness? Are you reviewing your personality assessment? Are you auditing your week or having your accountability meeting and saying, why am I not meeting the goals that I want to meet? What am I not bringing to light for my own personal and self-development? If you're not doing that, you're not moving forward, right? It's uncomfortable.
A lot of it's confidence and mindset.
Mm-hmm. Ton. Everything on this page is mindset, and I end every presentation with something related to mindset. Celebrate your wins. One of the other quotes is condemn nothing, in everything find edification. So like no matter what, every experience, you're intended to learn something from it. So why are you condemning it, right? And so if you don't live in that victim mindset and you live in the mindset of thank you for this experience because now I've learned this, right? Then you're always going to move forward. So something bad happens, think Lauren, condemn nothing. And then last, your balance is unique. And this is the final, right? Because I just gave you a crap ton of stuff that you didn't have on your plate before I walked in. So you either love me or hate me. It's fine. But you have to do all of those tasks in maintaining both of these two things. Truly being your authentic self, knowing who that is, and being settled and comfortable with who that is. If you're unsure, if you haven't taken the disc, I will be happy to send it to you. We have a subscription. Jared and I get the results. So if you see him before me, it gets emailed to both of us. And we're both certified, and we'll talk to you about it. It is an immense tool for awareness and how you interact with your clients. And if you study it so much, you start to see those traits in your clients, and you're able to serve them better. And then next, living your priorities. I think people sometimes are afraid to say what their priorities are. Right? And I put family first method because this is a business presentation, but it's okay to have a family first method, meaning I block my calendar on my family first, and then I fill everything else in to make sure I meet my other priorities. I do it a little bit different because I'm spread really, really thin. And who I am as a person is my work is that important to me. And so like I'm settled with that. And some people think I'm crazy and my sister-in-law thinks I'm nuts. And it's fine. We live two different lives, but we respect each other for it, right? So my unique on Family First looks like every Sunday we rate everything that we have for the week on a scale, and if it's between 1 and 4, they don't care if anybody's there, and if it's in the middle, I make sure one of my parents or my husband's there, but if it's at the top, I change my schedule and I'm at it, right? So like today they have their swim meet in Biloxi, but they have it tomorrow and Sunday too. And so we talked about it and they were like, no, we're good, you're gonna be there the other 2 days, so I'm still here. You know, it's that simple, but again, that's my crazy. Yours doesn't have to look like that, but what does your priorities look like? Because for so long, I had that guilt of missing things. And then when I started talking to her about it, she didn't care about half of the stuff anyway, and I was going to the wrong stuff. And once we figured it out, like, I don't feel guilty anymore, right? And they really want my dad there instead of me anyway. My dad and my mom, they would live with them and want them there before me every single time. So it's a win-win while we're growing a few things, right? And then last on that point is when you do both of those things, you're not finding your value in the opinion of others. Does that mean that I want you to ignore everyone's opinion of you or feedback that you get? No, I take it very seriously. Somebody tells me they don't like me, I'm like, okay, like we probably need to make some changes, but I'm also not gonna crumble and go cry in a corner, right? I'm gonna evaluate if I did something wrong, apologize if I need to, right? Or maybe just decide that our values don't align and that's why we don't like each other, right? Or maybe I'm misunderstood, but am I responsible for her understanding of me or his understanding of me? Maybe not, right? Who knows? If you're living your authentic self and you're living your priorities, then you find your value. And that's where, Megan, we were talking about boundaries. And then all of a sudden you have your boundaries of how you run your business. So it all goes, you know, full circle. These helpful? All right, that's all I got, y'all.